A very good evening to everyone. Welcome to Global Online. And here we are back with our NTA UGC Net Paper 1 preparation for June 2024 cycle. And in this session, we are going to see important questions on protocol. So we have done something called as treaty. We have done something called as conferences. We have done something called as conventions and how they are different. And what exactly is the sequence that we have done in our yesterday's live class on the app. Today we'll be seeing the same topic question answers, which will help you to give a perfect understanding of topic as well as MCQs. So let's start the session for the day. Before we start the session for the day, a very important announcement. From 8th of April 2024, you will be having new sessions live on the app from the three most important units, that is either data interpretation, mathematical or logical. These units will be starting very soon on the app so that you can help your theory subjects as well as the preparation for your upcoming, I mean to say, uh, uh, complete unit revision. So make sure that you are live on the app. Now, how to go on the app, how to get it just done. So I'll be telling you very shortly. So stay tuned till the end of this video. So yes, starting with the first question for the day, assertion and reasoning we have. So assertion is, in the world as a whole, the environment has degraded during the past several decades. The reason is the population of the world has been growing significantly. So this is what the statement tells you, right? And this statement says that in the world the degradation has, as a whole, the environmental degradation has been seen during the past several decades, and the population of the world which is growing is also growing significantly. So is there any connection between these two sentences? Yes, no, whether they are correct, they are wrong, whether they are correct with the explanation or wrong, though you have to tell. So let's start with respect to the assertion and reasoning. Yes, A is the correct statement, that in the world as a whole environment has degraded, no doubt for that. R is the correct statement, that population of the world has been growing significantly, but R is not the correct explanation for A. So it does not tells you that this is the only reason. See, in order to environmental degradation, in order to understand the concept of environmental degradation, there are lots amount of factors, right? But these factors, are they responsible just because of the growing population? No, there are many such concepts, right? So the correct explanation is not given, but individually the reason and assertion is right. Okay, coming to the next question, which of the international agreements, conventions, protocols are legally binding on each other, on the member countries? So we studied very well yesterday what is conference, we studied what is conventions, we study what is protocol, and we studied what is treaty. This is how this sequence goes, right? So which of the international agreements they have given? That is convention. It is convention on biological diversity, Quito Protocol, Montreal Protocol, or Paris Agreement. From these, which conventions are legally binding on the member countries? So basically, they legally binding. It can be either in the form of conventions or in the form of treaty. But yes, formally agreement is a part of what? Is a part of conventions. So going to the various options, if you see and if you know the theory which we have studied very well yesterday. So yes, the option number A, that is convention on biological diversity, and Montreal Protocol are the one which are legally binding. Quito Protocol and Paris Agreement, as such, the things are under control, that is emission wise, and I mean to say biological wise. So these two agreements are not very much, legally binding on the member countries, but the rest of them are. That is the Convention on Biological Diversity and Montreal Protocol. So if you see the Convention on Biological Diversity, informally known as, a biodiversity convention, which is a multilateral treaty, and the goal is not only the conservation of biological diversity, but also sustainability with fair and equitable use of resources. And this convention was opened for signature at Earth Rio Summit, that is in Brazil, on June 5th, 1992. And by end of 1993, 165 countries have signed this treaty, and it came into force from 1993. So basically, the main concern is the common concern of humankind. So development of, humankind is the main concern, and hence the legally binding comes under the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Montreal Protocol, right? Okay. Montreal Protocol, little bit of information. So this is basically understanding, or regulating the consumption of production and consumption of man-made chemicals, uh, that is in the form of ozone depletion substance, which actually was adopted on 15th of September 1987, came into force from 1989, and there are 197 countries, okay, which are ratified. That is ratified, it means as per the legal rules and regulations. And India became the member on 19th June 1992. So you may get a separate question of India becoming member when, right? Now, we also did Quito Protocol yesterday, though I've explained you very well that it was a conference held at Quito in Japan in 1997. It came into force because of ratification in a complicated way in 2005. It utilizes the convention on, climate change by definitely by uh, committing the industrialized countries and economies in transaction to reduce the greenhouse gases. An international agreement that has aimed to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions and the presence of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Now, Paris Agreement was the one, okay, as we have explained this in detail very well, which was, with reference to dealing with the greenhouse gases. The Quito Protocol, on another hand, is a treaty that commits state parties to reduce the greenhouse gases based on, the scientific consciousness. So, Paris Agreement has also given, ultimatum for reduction of greenhouse gases, but that is with reference to what? With reference to the scientific reasons. Otherwise, the actual conference which was held in order to ensure the greenhouse gas reduction, that was under the Quito Protocol, right? Paris Agreement, as I said, it is a legally binding international treaty adopted by 196 countries under Conference of Party 21. So, under with reference to conferences of parties also you have question. So, we'll be seeing those also in the coming concepts, which was actually adopted in the year 2015 and came into force in the year 2016. It is basically limiting the global warming, and the I have highlighted this words. It means these words are came into a form of questions in some or other way. So the preferable degree is 1.5. That is below 2, which is preferable is 1.5. And this is about, to ensure that it reaches the greenhouse emissions as soon as possible. And yes, it is one of the landmark with reference to the multilateral climate change, which binds all the nations into a common cause, that is fighting the climate change and adapting its effects. So that is how the Paris Agreement is famous for. We have Convention on Biological Diversity with three aims. As I said, the one aim is conservation of biological diversity, sustainability, and the fair use of the resources. Fine. So in this one question, I have completed most of the aspects which are important, and this were revised yesterday also very well, right? Okay, let's come to the next question. Which of the following conference or summit is known as UN Conference on Sustainable Development? So UNCSD. So which is the conference which is known as, the sustainable development, whether it is Stockholm Conference, whether it is Rio de Janeiro, whether it is Johannesburg, or whether it is Rio plus 20. Now, these concepts we are going to do tomorrow in the class, but still I have brought a question so that you get an easy understanding. So with the conference, and this is one of the very factual question. So unless and until you do not know the details, it will not be easy to crack it. So Rio 20 is the conference which is known as the Conference on Sustainable Development. So when we talk about sustainable development or the Rio conferences, it is basically resulting into the following, that is Rio de Janeiro, Agenda 21 and Forest Principles. So Rio has, it's basically the environmental and development, summit, which is talking about, major topic for this is the human role in the protection of environment, where it has brought up Rio 10, which was on sustainable development in 2002. Yes, this was with dealing with the Millennium Development Goals, that is your MDGs, and it was a 10-year follow-up. And this particular, the 10th anniversary of this, okay, which was actually started in 1992, the anniversary which was been conducted in 2002, which is also called as the United Nations Conference on Environmental and Development. For the next, that is the 20, for the next developmental plan, that is, it is called as what? It is called as Rio 20, which started from 2002 to 2012, a follow-up again of next 20 year, also known as Rio Summit 2012. And it talks about, yes, an economic and environmental goals, which is again talking about the sustainability for for the coming years to come. Now, there is a concept called as Agenda 21, which is not binding on the nations, but yes, it is again related to sustainable development, which was basically held in 1992, which has, okay, here it is not 3,300, and it's 3,350. It's not 3,350, it is just 350 pages document, which has 40 chapters, which is with reference to the 21st century and how it is dealing with this global development, sustainable development. So it is a comprehensive print which talks about what? Which talks about the major areas in which humans get directly affected by the environment. And yes, it is implementation of the programs in the form of sustainable development, right? We have next is forest principles, which talks about what? Recommendations for the sustainable development of forest. And this is how we have, understood the various outcomes with reference to the summits in the form of Rio 2010, Agenda 21, and the concept of forest principles, right? Now, coming to the next is United Nations. That is the question was all about, it started with United Nation, if you remember, conference, right? So the options, the remaining options also, the Stockholm conferences, which came under, 5th of June to 16th in 1972, 5th of June, which is celebrated as World Environment Day, which is talking about the international, where the international issues, are being taken into consideration, which can definitely have a turning point in development of the environment. And yes, it is, with reference to the 26 principles, which are concerned with the development and action plan, and had the recommendations also as well as a solution. So there are there in this particular conferences, issues are discussed, and for that issue solutions are to be considered. So it can be in the form of convention, it can be in the form of protocol, or it can be in the form of treaty, right? Okay, coming next is your environmental program, which was founded in 1972 in Kenya, with a significant role in identifying and analyzing the environmental problems and promoting the environment. This is basically talking about, the intergovernmental panel, which is on the climate change. So you have this concept, that is intergovernmental panel on climate change. That's what the full form is, which was in the year 1988. Then we have, United Nation, has, activities. United Nations Environmental Program has some activities in the form of, okay, that is disaster and conflict, ecosystem, governmental governance, environmental governance, and the review. And yes, there are several agencies, which are helping them to implement the solutions, and it is registered as one of the several success. One of them is Montreal Protocol, which and another is Minamata Convention, which was to limit the toxic mercury. So yes, there are a lot of concepts which are being taken, which has been discussed under such conferences, right? Okay, coming next question is, which of the following indicates the objective of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change? As I told you, please keep a tap on the acronyms also. Very important these acronyms are. So it is talking about what? It is talking about your indication of the objective of United Nation framework, okay, with respect to convention on climate change. So it is basically asking you about climate change. So whether it is to stabilize the greenhouse gas, to limit the emissions, to lay the enforcement mechanism or to ensure that, the guidelines for the formulation of action plan. So which of them, comes under the objective? So talking about the objective of climate change, it is basically to stabilize the greenhouse gases of concentration in the atmosphere, right? Now, when we talk about Convention on Climate Change, yes, it is one of the outcome of Rio Summit, which talks about, the framework. It is not mandatory to limit any emission, but yes, it is an individual country's contribution, and they should take it, in as a responsibility. So the objective is to stabilize the greenhouse concentration, which was adopted in 1992, and yes, it is, it entered into force from 1994 with many of the countries which came after ratification. So the aim is what? To ensure that the gases, to stabilize the greenhouse gases, right? Talking about the provisions, as per the provisions of Paris Agreement, intended nationally determined contributions are reviewed after how many years? Intended nationally determined contributions, 15, 10, 5, and 3. Okay, so again, this is very factual question. The answer is 5, but let's see about it. So when we talk about intended nationally determined contributions, which was under the Conference of Party 12, it talks about the global agreement before the Paris summit. So they are reviewed every 5 years, where they are submitted by Government of India, which was on 2nd of October. So this talks about the intensity of, the GDP, which is to be 33, improve the emission intensity of GDP by from 33 to 35%, which is a target in 2030, to increase the share of non-fossil fuels by 40, again a target of 2030. And it is talking about the forest cover, which will absorb 2.5%. It is, sorry, this is little bit typing error, of carbon dioxide by 2030, as well as the installation of solar energy, that is 175 gigawatts, and biomass energy, electricity, that is 20 by 2022. So these all, I mean to say, the statements which I've written, there can be individual questions on this also. There has to be, individual questions. So make sure these concepts are properly understood, revised properly. There are many students who come up with a question how to keep this in mind. I've told you, only the revision is something which will definitely help you to keep these concepts in mind, right? Okay, now yes, we have done this yesterday's class. So in fact, those students who have attended the class and, lecture should be able to answer this very quickly. Under Kyoto Protocol, the first commitment period for reduction of greenhouse gases by industrialized and European nation country was what? So actually, Kyoto Protocol has two commitment period. So the commitment period one was from what to what, and second was from what to what. We have done this. It is also included in the form of notes. So talking about your commitment period, that is first one, it was from 2008 to 12. So if you see, the answer is 2008 to 12. The second commitment period was 2013 to 20, and there was, these six gases which were targeted for the emissions. Even from this also, there will be a question which six gases were a target for the emission, right? Okay, coming to the next question, formulation of a long-term emission development strategy was by each country was suggested by whom? So one of the country, sorry, it was suggested by one of these protocols, conferences, or convention, that the emission of, that low emission development strategy should be, should be suggested. Formulation of long-term emission strategy. So it was basically done by the Paris Agreement, which was, we have already learned this, right? Now, see, I was talking about one question wherein they have told you to identify the greenhouse gases which are adopted by Kyoto Protocol. So Kyoto Protocol has adopted which, following. So whether it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's the reason I told you. Kyoto Protocol, two questions are very important about their commitment period and about the gases. So talking about their commitment period, so basically it is, uh, two, which we have learned, and gases, it includes all. That is, it has adopted the emission of carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, chlorofluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride, right? Okay. Now you have, the match the following. You have a protocols and you have their understanding. So Montreal Protocol you have, Paris you have, climate change you have, National Climate Action Plan. Then you have Kyoto Protocol. So you have to match the events. Let's see how many of you are able to do it. Yes. So I've given you time bit so that it can immediately match it. So yes, Montreal Protocol, we know it is about ozone, A3. Paris Agreement, it is basically intended nationally determined contributors, yes, which we have already studied it very well. Climate Action Plan, which talks about the water resource management, and Quito Protocol talks about emission trading. So, as I said you yesterday, Quito Protocol, your Montreal Protocol, these are very confirmed, questions, and you should be able to answer them very well, right? Okay, coming to the next protocol, we have studied, no, we studied we studied Nagoya, we studied Quito, and we studied Montreal Protocol. So Nagoya Protocol is related to what? Climate change, ozone, hazardous waste, or biodiversity. Those who have really attended the session yesterday, should, and very limited topic I took, but very effective, should be able to understand these terms very well. Nagoya Protocol is related to none other than biodiversity. It talks about biodiversity, right? Okay, that's all we have for the day. So everyone, those who are new to the channel and do not know about us, so go to the Google Play Store, download Global Online app, register yourself with the registered number. You can get the course details very well, which consist of video lectures, demo sessions, complete focused on the courses with theory lectures, evaluation tests, notes, mock test, all the details. We have given the contact details of our team members. So just get in touch with them and ensure that whatever details you want, you can clarify from them, and then you can decide to start the classes and prepare yourself very well for your upcoming examination. Okay, that's all for the day. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next class.